Chapter 1. Four strangers checked in at the Seamount Hotel in Banjul one evening. None of them knew of the other three or about being one of the four. And this will remain the case because, unknowingly, the hotel assigned them to different rooms on different floors in different wings. First to check in was a man, aged about 60 years. His hairline had retreated all the way back to his crown, but there it had held, no more hair loss. He had a strange habit of smacking his lips as he talked, appearing to shape each word first and to add voice to it only after. Arrival formalities required him to complete and sign a registration card at the hotel's front desk. He signed it as Karanja Kimani, professor in the Institute of Development Studies at the University of Nairobi, Kenya. The hotel gave him a room on the fourth floor of its east wing. Next to sign in was another man, aged about 70. He had a bushy mustache, which, in moments of speech, wriggled over his mouth like a moth fighting to free its wings, then fly away. The man registered as Ngobile Melusi, comrade and citizen of Zimbabwe. In the blank his card had for his occupation, he defiantly wrote, "Not applicable." The hotel allocated him a room on the fifth floor of the south wing. A younger man, aged about 50, also checked in. Big and flabby, he looked like a failed sumo wrestler. However, this feature was not evident now. He had buried it under loose robes, topped with one of those cone-like caps that always flop to the left side by design, not flow. There was something about his eyes. They narrowed into slits when he relaxed, narrowed further when he smiled, and vanished altogether when he laughed. He registered as Chineke Chamaka, pastor at the Church Inside Africa, CIA, in Lagos, Nigeria. He took a room on the sixth floor of the West Wing. Last to check in was yet another man, 40 plus years old. His walk seemed to be motion powered by rebellion. Was it a gesture of protest against someone or something? He checked in as Saif Tahir, engineer, formerly employed by the Ministry of Defense in Tripoli, Libya. He got a room on the third floor of the North Wing. Professor Kimani had been in his room for less than an hour when the phone there rang. He looked at his watch. Not 7 o'clock yet. He looked out of a window. Pitch dark already. How fast falls the African night? Like a heavy rain of ink, he thought. He picked up the phone. "Is that Professor Kimani?" A male voice on the line asked. Professor Kimani did not respond. "Hey, I heard you pick up," said the voice, already irritated. "So, I know you're there. Look, I have an urgent message for you from AGDA. It's pronounced AGDA as a word Agda. Hello, are you still there, Professor Kimani?" This time, Professor Kimani responded. Agda, the Agency for Governance and Development in Africa, had sent him here, to Banjul. "Yes, I am here," he said. "Good. Agda's message for you is that you accept me as your guide while you are here. Now, before you go worrying about that arrangement, let me assure you that I'll do everything I can to make your mission here a success. You have my word." Nigerian. Professor Kimani gazed from the man's tendency to inject anger into every stressed syllable. Educated Nigerian. He added, this qualification after taking into account the man's impeccable grammar. "Who are you?" he asked. "Later," snapped the Nigerian. "Right now, I want to know if you have received a briefcase I left at your hotel for you." Professor Kimani looked at a briefcase his hotel had just delivered to his room. "Yes, I have received it," he said. "Just now, in fact," he added. "I can't open it, though. Did you scramble its lock, perhaps?" "It's 1124. "I'm sorry, what was that?" "That was its combination lock. Set the lock on that, The briefcase should open. Now, before you do anything foolish, first, make sure that it contains all the items that it ought to have. They are listed on a sheet that you'll find inside. Oh, Professor Kimani, that was an order. The voice paused, expecting a protest from Professor Kimani. When none came, it gave the rest of its demand. Obey, Professor Kimani, obey. Still, Professor Kimani did not protest. Excellent, applauded the Nigerian, clearly pleased with his quick victory. So, Professor Kimani, how much time will you need to acquaint yourself with the material in your briefcase? 1 hour? He did not wait for an answer. 1 hour it is, then. Good night. Wait, Professor Kimani said. Haven't you forgotten something? Me? Forget? Retorted the Nigerian. Cocky, educated Nigerian. Professor Kimani said to himself, now adding up all his assessments about the man. I asked for your name. Who are you? Oh, that? Let's just say I am your guide, the man said. I meant your real name, Professor Kimani insisted. Instead of an answer, he heard the line die suddenly from the other end. Comrade Melusi got a similar call after. Pastor Chiamaka later, Engineer Tahir the last. All three said they had failed to open their briefcases. To all three, the caller gave the key 1124. Dr. Afolabi heard someone call him from behind. He stopped walking, then turned to look. There she was. She was wearing a scarlet blouse, a black skirt and red high heels. Who was she? She was not anyone he could remember. Perhaps she had called someone else. He looked around. No one else had stopped. That made sense. She had called his name. She called again. Dr. Afolabi, may I please have a word with you? She asked. With me? He asked. Are you sure? I'm sure, all right. Which means you'll now follow me. This way, please. She led him to a corner with 2 chairs. So sit here. She indicated one of the 2 chairs. 1 minute is all I'll take. Well, maybe I'll take more, but 5 at the most. She sat on the other chair. 1 minute, 5 minutes, what's the difference? He joked. Then he sat as well. My name is Mackenzie, she began. Fiona Mackenzie. First, let me thank you for agreeing to sit for this interview. Wait, can I tell you something else before I continue? You see, whenever I say my name is Mackenzie, people look at me quizzically, silently demanding an explanation. And the explanation is Mackenzie's what? He asked. I was adopted by Ian and Elspeth Mackenzie, Scottish missionaries. They are back in Edinburgh now, but were in Banjul then. They took me in while I was less than a year old. Cute as a button and sharp as a needle, he thought. Her eyes were wide and white like a pair of moons. She continued, my natural parents were Gambian, but I will never see them. They are dead. Oh, well. She wriggled in her chair. Goodness me, what am I doing? Dictating my autobiography? She waved that idea away. Let's talk business now, shall we? She pulled out of her handbag a small device, then switched it on. Mind if I start recording? You're a reporter. He had not thought she was. Yes, for the Gambian News. I see. Now, how can I help you, Miss Mackenzie? I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may. Yes, you may. In fact, why don't I start you off? My name is Abiola Afolabi, which you seem to already know, but you can just call me Abiola, my first name. Take it from there. I will. You started at Harvard University in the USA. Now you teach at the University of Ibadan in Nigeria? She smiled. I got that from the cover of your book, Failure of States. He averted his eyes to enjoy the fame in the correct manner. With humility, he hoped she would easily see through. This black Scotswoman surely knew her trade, he thought. When I heard you were here at the Seamount Hotel, Dr. Folaby, I decided to come and see you. So here I am. This is all funny. Funny? Yes, I expected to see an academic scarecrow dressed in jeans. Instead, I see a well-dressed man who might well be a business person. I'm sorry I've disappointed you, Miss Mackenzie. 40? What? Your age? 40? No, 45. To my 35, imagine that. Go have your picture taken right now, Dr. Folaby. You won't always look this good. I'm not joking. Go. Miss Mackenzie, was there something else you wanted us to talk about? She slapped herself on one cheek as if to punish herself. I was beginning to ramble on, wasn't I? Enough. Now then, Africa's heads of states will soon start a debate at the Pinnacle Hotel, 2 streets from here, and I'll be covering the debate for the Gambian News. I understand you will be an advisor to the heads of state during the debate. Could you give me some background? What will be the heart of their debate? They will be debating a document titled Way Omega. You see, not long ago, 20 Nobel laureates discovered a way to develop Africa and then published that discovery in a document with that title. Africa's ministers for planning had a look at it. They liked it. Now Africa's heads of states are in Banjul to adopt it as a common development strategy for all of Africa. That's the background, Miss Mackenzie. Or did you want actual content? She shook her head. What are expectations of the summit, Dr. Folaby? What are my expectations? Please don't get me started. I expect the summit to be a historic moment. If adopted, where Omega will change African politics dramatically. Just think, no more military coups, no more rigged elections, well, no more foul play, period. Dr. Folaby, not all of the heads of states assembled here are fair players. In fact, a few are out and out foul players. They rose to power through military coups or rigged elections. Those won't be walking along with Omega or anytime soon, will they? Change is always like that, Miss Mackenzie. One side of it has defenders of existing arrangements. These, sure about their laws if those arrangements end, fight tooth and nail to keep them. The other side has challenges of existing arrangements. These, not yet sure about their gain if new arrangements replace old arrangements. Do not fight so hard to win them. Ha! What did you just say, Dr. Folaby? You are not listening to me anymore, are you, Miss Mackenzie? Anyway, I was saying where Omega will put Africa on a new course, free from the obstacles that have defeated its past efforts. Imagine this, Miss Mackenzie. Africa without coups, without civil wars, without... he stopped himself. Look, who is rambling on now, Miss Mackenzie? Yet can you blame me? I told you not to get me started. Remember? Yes, I remember. And yet we have your book, Failure of States. Dr. Folaby, may I ask you something? What makes you this optimistic about Africa's future now, when in that book you are very pessimistic? Is it the content of Way Omega or the prestige of its authors? He began to dislike her. Miss Mackenzie, did you say my book was pessimistic? Yes, I did. Was pessimistic really the word you meant? You see, the word means... Let me try again. Dr. Folaby, what makes you optimistic now when before you were pessimistic? Miss Mackenzie, I heard you the first time. Then answer my question. I say I had totally misjudged you, Miss Mackenzie. He had seen a lamb vulnerable, now he saw a lioness dangerous. I thought you were a proper good-mannered journalist. Instead, I just see you as one of those fire eaters who confuse journalism with bad manners. Dr. Folaby, you haven't answered my... What joy do you get out of being rude to those you interview? You like watching them explode from anger and then bleed. Is that it? Fine. But we have just met. What did I do that offended you? Let me put my question another way, Dr. Folaby. Why did you come to this summit? Correction, I didn't come. I was invited. That means presidents wanted me here. Repeat, presidents. They saw merit in the book you dismiss as pessimistic and wanted me to assure them that Way Omega agrees with it. So who cares what you think? What do you know about books? Anyway, let me tell you something else, Miss Mackenzie. He changed his mind. A voice inside him was saying he had become too defensive. On further thought, let me not. I don't think I have to defend my book before anyone, least of all before a third-rate reporter for the Zambian news. Gambian, she said. Whatever. All right, Dr. Folabi. Now can you think through your book and give me an example, a specific example on which way Omega agrees with your book? Yes, I can. Her mobile phone rang. She answered it. As she did, she was already gathering her things, preparing to leave. Dr. Folabi, I have to go, she said. Silly boss wants me back at the office. Something has come up. Sorry, so, Dr. Folabi, in only a word now, because I have no time left, what is the specific example you are about to give? Let me see if I understand you correctly, Miss Mackenzie, he said, suppressing hot anger. A man you claim is your boss calls you, therefore I must compress my example into a word. You know bosses, they don't like to be kept waiting. She picked up her things. Listen, I really must go. She rose and started leaving. Then she stopped. I could come back later. Would that be okay? Absolutely not, he almost shouted. Then what do you suggest? She asked. I suggest that you go read my book, not just its cover. He stood up. Now, if you'll excuse me, I too must be off. Have a good day. 49 foreign heads of state were in Banjul for the summit. All looked happy, and why not? Had they not escaped from troublemakers in their home countries? They saw ahead of them a stay free from trouble here. In the Gambia, a country everyone kept calling the land of Kunta Kinte. All hoped to get from their stay as much rest as possible. Of course, at some point, they would each take the floor and, as fans back home expected, address the summit. But this was something that they could do with little or no efforts at all. For Gambians, though, the presence of so many visiting dignitaries was not fun. True, 49 heads of states could give a hosting country good publicity, but heads of states are a huge inconvenience. So this publicity comes at a high price. Nowhere is the price higher than it is in Africa. Here, before the dignitaries arrive, bulldozers dispatched at night in slum clearance exercises demolish roadside kiosks on which whole families depend for their livelihood. This way, the dignitaries will see that a few streets once had sidewalks, roads get rare layers of tarmac at times of maximum traffic. This way, motorists come to a standstill when it really hurts. Checkpoints sprout everywhere. This way, guards get even more basis for extorting bribes from passers-by. When the dignitaries finally arrive, water taps at which whole neighborhoods queue to get just buckets of water dry up. Because now all water has to go to new water fountains built to mesmerize the visitors. Catastrophes can happen even at summits. At the Banjul summit, preventing them from happening was a joint responsibility of the Ministry of Internal Security and the Ministry of Defense. This meant both the police and the army played major roles. They came up with a very effective way of assuring that all heads of states would be safe. It was this: all heads of states, including the host, would stay in one place, the Pinnacle Hotel, located on the exclusive outskirts of Banjul.